This Saturday, Indiana travels up to Eugene for a top 10 Big Ten showdown. Alabama is on the road at undefeated Missouri, and we have this year's edition of the Red River Shootout, although the team entering undefeated is not the one a lot of people would have predicted. Welcome back to State of the FBS. I'm Micah, and today we're going to be going through the best games of Week 7. I'm going to be breaking them all down and giving you my pick for them before we get into this weekend. Sure to be great. A lot of college football action. You know, I'm always excited for football. But let's get started with Indiana traveling to Oregon, number 7 at number 3. And this is a very talented Hoosiers team. I know this Oregon passing attack is very good. Dante Moore's been playing great. The D Moore duo with him and DeCorian Moore has been very, very good for the Ducks to start this season. But this Indiana secondary is nothing to sneeze at for sure. D'Angelo Pons may be small, but he is feisty. He is a great corner out there. And then two of the other guys in that secondary, Amari Farrell and Lewis Moore, each have 3 interceptions on this season already. This is an Indiana team that can absolutely pick you off if you give them the chance. Dante Moore is going to need to play smart football, play reliably, and he's going up against another incredible quarterback in Fernando Mendoza, a guy who I think is one of the best prospects in all of college football right now. I love his ability to throw with anticipation. He has great arm strength, is a great quarterback. These are two future pros going against each other this weekend in Eugene, and I could not be more excited for this game. With that said, I am going to be taking the Ducks. I think there's just a little bit too much talent on this team, and also Autzen Stadium is one of the best home fields in college football. I think it's going to be a very, very difficult task for Indiana to go in there and beat the Ducks. Last year, we saw what Autzen could do versus Ohio State. Ohio State lost at Oregon, went on to play them again in the Rose Bowl, absolutely obliterated them. So Autzen Stadium can definitely put Oregon over the top in games like this. I love Dan Lanning as a game coach as well. I know Curt Cignetti is another very quality coach, but Dan Lanning, this Oregon talent, and then Autzen Stadium at home, I think is just a bit too much for Indiana, though I think the Hoosiers are still definitely a top 10 team in the country. Regardless of that, though, give me the Ducks in this one. Up next, it's number 8, Alabama, traveling on the road to number 14, Missouri, in what I think is a very, very, very hard game to pick for me. This Missouri team has played very well so far this season, but it's not been against the best opponents. However, they're top 4 in the country in total offense and defense. They have, in my opinion, the best running back in college football in Ahmad Hardy, who has been just outstanding this year. And behind Hardy is Jamal Roberts, who's also incredible. You add that with Kevin Coleman Jr. on this offense, Brett Norfleet. It's a star-studded offense around Penn State transfer Beau Pribula. And then some of the edge guys they have on this team too, Damon Wilson, Zion Young, Khalil Jacobs, all with multiple sacks so far in the season. And they are all difference makers. They are big-time edge rushers. And Missouri can pressure the quarterback. They're extremely good at getting to the quarterback, getting them under duress. And if they can do that to Ty Simpson, we saw what happened against Florida State where Simpson was under pressure. However, I think Simpson has developed since then. He's playing a lot calmer, playing better football. These Alabama receivers, I think, are also doing a better job of getting open recently. And I think the Missouri secondary is the weak point of this team. I think Alabama can exploit that secondary if they're able to get them on their heels, get the run game going first. Jam Miller needs touches in this game. And also, I don't think you can afford to go down to this Missouri team early, because if Missouri's up, they can just hand the ball off and run a clock, and Ahmad Hardy's going to take it for 6.5 or 7 a carry, and then you're just absolutely cooked. So I do think Alabama wins this game, although I think it's very, very close. It's hard for me to pick a team on the road in a game that I view as close as this, but Alabama, what I've seen from them the last couple weeks, they just look in gear and ready to go right now, and it's really hard for me to pick against the Crimson Tide, and Kalen DeBoer continues, I think, to be one of the best game day coaches in college football at this point in his career. So give me the Crimson Tide over the Missouri Tigers. Next up, it's the Red River Shootout. Number 6, Oklahoma, and unranked Texas. Wow. Longhorns have been struggling, and before everyone comes in here and says, man, Arch Manning's terrible, Arch Manning's awful, I can't believe how bad Arch Manning is. Arch Manning has not been perfect, but you put any quarterback in the country behind that offensive line, they're not going to look amazing. The offensive line has been horrendous for Texas so far this season, and they can't run the ball. I believe their running backs had less than 20 total yards versus Florida, which, geez. I know the Florida defensive line is good, but you're not going to win much of anything doing that. So I would expect Oklahoma's run defense to be able to keep them in check as well. And this Oklahoma pass rush, led by R. Mason Thomas, has been outstanding this season. Look at their 9-sack game versus Auburn a few weeks ago. I think Texas does have a path to victory, but it's in a low-scoring game. This Texas defense can still be good when they're playing their best. And I think especially if John Mateer doesn't play, that's really what this comes down to in my head. I think no John Mateer, Texas stands a chance in kind of a rock fight type game. I think with John Mateer, I think even a 50% John Mateer in this game is enough to make me clearly pick Oklahoma. I know rivalry games, nothing's ever guaranteed, but I think that Oklahoma just is playing better. They look more cohesive. They look like a better just unit of a team overall. The one problem with the Sooners, they cannot run the ball with their running backs. Texas can't either. So I think it's going to be very difficult for either offense to establish a consistent up-the-middle ground game in this one. I'm looking to see which offensive coordinator can get more creative, which play caller can be better in this one. Ben Arbuckle versus Steve Sarkisian. It's going to be a fun one for sure, but with the assumption that Mateer is playing, because that seems to be the vibe based on lines that have come out and stuff like that, I'm going with Oklahoma in this one. Give me the Sooners in the Red River Shootout. Next up, it's number 1 Ohio State traveling on the road to take on Illinois in the I cannot believe that this game is actually happening of the week. I don't exactly know what I mean by that, but it's just so highly ranked. And I know Illinois is not a bad team, but you look at 1 versus 17 and you think, oh, this will be close maybe. Maybe this team has a chance to pull a huge upset at home, and I just don't see it for whatever reason. I know Illinois is solid. They had a very good bounce-back game against USC to beat USC on home turf after the massacre that Indiana doled out to them a couple weeks ago in Bloomington, but still, I'm just not sold on Luke Altmaier being able to do enough in this game to keep up with Ohio State. I know Illinois likes to really run the ball more. That's more their bread and butter, but I don't know if you can do that on Ohio State. This Buckeye defense is allowing 5 points per game. 5. That is absurd. I know they haven't played a ton of great teams, but they've played Texas, who isn't amazing, but they'd score more than 5 on most teams. And to be fair, they did score 7, but still, geez, this defense is on another level right now for the Buckeyes, and I just don't think Illinois is going to have enough to get the ball moving on them consistently to be able to stay in this one. Julian Sayin and this offense still looks great. Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate are both incredible players. Brandon Ennis is also very good. I love Brandon Ennis too. So give me Ohio State in this one over Illinois. Not too worried about that one. And then Big 12 game of the week, number 21 Arizona State traveling to Utah to take on the Utes. This is going to be fun. I think this is going to be an absolute slugfest. Utah allows 14.6 points per game. Arizona allows 21.2. These are two teams that both love to run the ball. Arizona State with Raleek Brown and Sam Levitt. Utah with a trio with Wayshawn Parker, Devin Dampier from the quarterback position, and then Nequari Rogers all run the ball for this Utah team. At the end of the day, I think this comes down to which run defense is better, and Arizona State's is by a long shot. Utah's is outside of the top 60. Arizona State's is much higher than that. Also, Utah's been hit with the injury bug pretty badly so far this season. They have notable players down heading into this one, and I think Arizona State's going to be able to take advantage of that. I like Raleek Brown against this Utah rush defense. You saw what Texas Tech was able to do against this Utah defense at Utah, and Arizona State is not Texas Tech by any means. I think the Red Raiders have separated themselves at the top of this conference, but this is still a good Sun Devil offense that is starting to develop as the year goes on. They're finding their identity a bit more. And Jordan Tyson, I can't believe I've gone this long without mentioning Jordan Tyson, but he is a freak for this Arizona State team. And frankly, I don't think Utah has anyone that can hang with him on the outside. So you're going to need to try to contain him the best you can, but then do you leave the run game open? I think it's just a bit too much for the Utes to handle. And I do think these are two very good teams. I think these are two top 25 teams in the country right now, but give me Arizona State on the road. And the road picks trend is going to continue for this video. Next up, it's 24 UCF traveling to North Texas to take on the Mean Green. And I'm not going to lie, the amount of road teams I'm picking in this video is making me a little nervous, but we'll see what happens this weekend. But North Texas, they are 38 in total offense, 39th in total defense, but they are top 10 in scoring offense. Drew Mestemaker is a very solid quarterback. He has 11 touchdowns, 0 interceptions so far to this point on the year. He has been very reliable. He's basically been Chandler Morris in this offense with a bit less production and fewer turnovers, which I think you will definitely take if you are the Mean Green. The problem for North Texas is they haven't really played anyone with a pulse. They have played Army, they have played South Alabama, and that's pretty much the premier opponents that they've taken on so far at this point in the season. But they are tied for second in the country in turnover margin. So USF has to take care of the football in this one, because if you don't, North Texas can make you pay. And credit to the North Texas University president, too. I believe he canceled all classes on Friday so the students could go to this game, which great move. I absolutely love that. I just don't think it's quite enough. Give me the Bulls to take this one. USF stays ranked. The top of the American remains as chaotic as ever. But USF, I think, is right there with Memphis for the best team in this conference, and I think they get it done on the road against North Texas. Next up, number 15, Michigan, traveling out to LA to take on USC. And oh my goodness, the stylistic disparity in this game is off the charts. USC with the Lincoln Riley offense. Wayman Jordan's a great running back, but make no mistake, this runs through Jaden Maiava, Jacoby Lane, and Mekhi Lemon on the outside. And Mekhi Lemon should be said first in that duo because he is awesome. One of the best receivers in college football right now. I think I'd put him 3 probably behind Jeremiah Smith and Jordan Tyson to this point. He has been amazing. Then for Michigan, they want to run the ball. It's Justice Haynes all day long, and you've seen what they do to teams. It's just death by 1,000 cuts, and then Haynes will break one. Can Bryce Underwood make something happen? I think is the key in this game. The USC defense has proved to be vulnerable, especially against ground game offenses. You saw that against Illinois when they went to Champaign to take on the Illini. I think home field advantage is going to be enough for USC here. It's a lot of travel for Michigan, having to go that far west for this game. I think that does take a toll on these teams for sure. I think this game is very close. I think it's a fun one for sure, but I think USC just has enough to edge out Michigan. And the problem with the Michigan secondary is you have one really good corner out there on the boundary, but just not enough depth, I think, to handle the rest of this USC offensive attack. Jaden Maiava has been playing great. I had him kind of in the middle of the conference in my Big Ten quarterback rankings to start the year, and I said if he can clean up the brain-dead interceptions, he'll be an amazing player, and he's done that so far this year. He has been absolutely awesome for the Trojans. So USC gets it done at home versus Michigan. Next up, it's the Florida Gators coming off the big upset of Texas, traveling out to Texas to take on the Texas A&M Aggies. That was a lot of saying the word Texas, my goodness. But I don't think it's back-to-back weeks for the Gators with an upset. A&M's just too good. They can win in a bunch of different ways. You saw them win a rock fight versus Auburn. They've won a shootout versus Notre Dame. They absolutely shut down Mississippi State in Kyle Field last week. And I think that they're going to do similar things to Florida. I just don't have enough faith in Billy Napier as a play caller to be able to take advantage of all the talent on this offense. Yes, I know they look good versus Texas, but that was 1 at home. And 2, no one had seen Dallas Wilson before then. And I think now if you're game planning against Florida, you're going to have to respect that a bit more and game plan against that. I think a defense as good as A&M's is going to be ready for that. I'm also worried about the Florida offensive line and pass protection. Cassius Habel has been great so far this year. He's top 5 in the nation in sacks. I think he could definitely put some stress on that Florida offensive line. Torian York has been playing out of his mind so far this season. I think he's a guy to watch out for in this game as well. And at the end of the day, I just think A&M is a more talented and better coached team than Florida, and they're getting Florida at home. So Aggies, I think, in this one pretty much all the way. Number 5 A&M over Florida. Next up, it's number 10 Georgia, traveling to Jordan-Hare Stadium to take on the Auburn Tigers. And, man, I want to go with Auburn because of Jordan-Hare at night. I just can't. Georgia is too good. Auburn's offensive line is so bad. Jackson Arnold has not proven the ability to be able to make throws and win games. The big win for the season for Auburn is Baylor. Jackson Arnold ran wild in that game. He didn't do it by throwing the ball. If you can get the ball to Cam Coleman and Eric Singleton down the field, then you're in business because this Georgia secondary is vulnerable down the field. I just don't think Auburn has a quarterback that can take advantage of it, unfortunately. Georgia's run game has been awesome. I think they're going to need to establish that versus Auburn quickly, try to jump out to a lead because Jordan Hare is a lot less intimidating if you get these fans silenced with a quick burst out into the lead, if the Bulldogs can do that. And then Gunnar Stockton, I almost called him Stetson Bennett, jeez. Gunnar Stockton has been great on the road so far this year. You saw what he did against Tennessee, really showed up in that game, threw the ball great, over 300 yards. I think you're going to need him to be able to play well through the air again versus this Auburn defense that has been very solid so far this season. But again, like Georgia, they're weak on the back end. And I think if Stockton can exploit that, Auburn is really in trouble. And at the end of the day, I also just don't have enough faith that the Auburn coaching staff is going to lean into the run game, which is Auburn's best part of their team. They average over 6 yards per carry with the running backs and just don't use them for whatever reason. But is what it is on that. I'm taking Georgia in this one. I think Georgia gets back on track. They have to have this one after the loss to Alabama a couple weeks ago. You absolutely need this. So Georgia gets it done in Jordan Hare. Next up, I think an underrated fun game of the week is NC State traveling on the road to number 16 Notre Dame. And do not overlook NC State because CJ Bailey is nice. That quarterback is super fun over there for the Wolfpack. Is a dynamic dual threat caliber player, has a great arm, can make a lot of throws. And then you have a running back in the backfield who not only is on the all-name team, Hollywood Smothers, but he also has 693 yards already on the season, which is number 2 in the nation behind only Ahmad Hardy. He's averaging 6.9 per carry, nice, which is extremely, extremely impressive for this NC State offense. I'm just worried about the defense. I don't know if the defense can hang, especially in the box. The duo of Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price, I think, is going to be just a bit too much for NC State to handle. I'm also worried about if NC State can actually throw the ball on this Notre Dame defense with Leonard Moore and Christian Gray both back on that back end for the Irish. I don't have enough confidence that NC State can get a consistent offense going, and because of that, I'm taking Notre Dame, but I think this one could get spooky for a bit up in South Bend for sure. Then next up, a game that everyone had circled in the preseason that is now kind of a dud. It's South Carolina at number 11 LSU. And LSU's big weakness so far this season is they can't run the ball, while South Carolina's 70th in rush defense. So problem solved. It's also goodness, I can't talk in this last part of the video. It's also in Death Valley at night, which I think is a big difference maker for LSU. South Carolina, I think they're just going to be rattled. This defense is flat out not very good. The offensive line has been even worse so far this season. I think LSU is going to be getting to Lenoris Sellers almost every play, but he can get out of those sacks a lot of the time. So maybe he can make something happen. South Carolina keeps it close for a bit. I don't see him being able to hang. There's just too much going against the Gamecocks in this one. I think LSU wins fairly convincingly. Now over to the Big Ten, it's Nebraska at Maryland in a battle of very fun 4-1 teams. Maryland is top 5 in the country in sacks so far this year, and then both of these teams are in the top 10 in turnover margin in the country. Neither of these quarterbacks really turn the football over, Malik Washington and Dylan Raiola, and I still think Nebraska takes it, even at Maryland. I think that the combination of Dylan Raiola in this passing offense and then a passing defense that has been absolute clamps so far this year, going into the Michigan State game last week, they had allowed less than 100 passing yards per game before that game, and they kept rolling against Michigan State. That pass defense is so good, and I think that if you force Maryland to run the ball, they can't. This is a team that has not been able to run the ball in years. They are perennially in the bottom 30 to 35 teams in rushing offense in college football, and they are just not built to beat a Nebraska team that can shut down the pass completely. I think the Huskers get this one done up in Maryland. And then finally, it's Kansas at number 9 Texas Tech. I just wanted to get this in here so I could talk about Texas Tech because I think they're awesome. They are top 5 in scoring offense and scoring defense in the country. They are absolutely incredible. They're going up against a Kansas team that's led by a great quarterback in Jalen Daniels, but I think this edge duo, Vermello Height and DJ Bailey, is going to really get after Daniels, make him struggle. You saw it happen against Missouri. When Daniels got pressured, this offense kind of fell apart for Kansas. I think you see something similar happen in this one. Give me Texas Tech over Kansas to keep the undefeated streak alive out there in Lubbock, which, by the way, I like their new logos. I don't get the hate for the new retro Texas Tech logos. They look awesome. But Yeah, Red Raiders get it done to stay undefeated, stay at the top of the Big 12. But that is your Week 7 picks video. Let me know what you agree with, disagree with. If you're a fan of a team that got picked in this video, let me know what you think or how you think your team's going to do this weekend. But that has been it for this one. If you did enjoy the video, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time on State of the FBS.